Light news day, news night in the NFL, huh? Some light stuff out there.
I mean, that escalated quickly.
I mean, Urban Meyer's probably somewhere sitting there like, holy smokes.
Oh, yeah.
Did I dodge a bullet?
Yep.
Because cancel culture could come for him, too.
Yeah. And,
jeez.
I mean, we talked yesterday about the John Gruden situation and the emails that were sent and the stuff that he sent about DeMaurice Smith. And it was like, well, look, he's, probably not going to get fired, but he's getting a little bit of heat and some pushback. And then all of a sudden,
they done dug into more.
Oh, man.
Brady, you touched on it. Like, there was other stuff that was going on that people kind of, what'd you say, they kind of just glazed over.
Yeah. Well, there was the comments about Roger Goodell that I thought it was interesting that it was apparent, it was out there, but no one was making a big deal about that until I guess there was even more. And that's the tough thing about this whole situation is my understanding is they were investigating the Washington football team.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And yet this is the only thing they found?
What do they call unscrupulous? Like the idea, like I was going through this in my mind. The punishment has already been rendered and yielded to Dan Snyder and to the Washington football team. And that took place a while ago. So you think about it, this information has been there. Somebody knew about these emails and these interactions and transactions long before they came out yesterday or the day before, whenever it is that they officially came out. So it's kind of like one of those things. You got to ask yourself the question, when that investigation was taking place, who was doing it? I'm curious to know who was doing the interviews and doing the investigations. Who's holding the information? Is it the NFL? Is it the NFLPA? What's going on here? Because in some type of interesting, weird way, it's like DeMaurice Smith, I don't know, has the results come out on the vote yet in terms of if he's in or if he's
back
out?
for a year, right?
He's back, I believe, for a couple of years. They're going to work to find someone to eventually replace him and help with the transition. But clearly there's disgruntlement with the job he's done. But I think they felt like there just wasn't another option at this point.
Okay.
And that's at least the sentiment that I got from it.
So to think about the fact that if you're looking at what John Gruden had to say, he clearly was not a proponent of DeMaurice Smith. And must have been very vocal about it because you're putting it in emails to the brass of an organization. And then now it comes out. How does that information get out? How does that information come out? And how does it come out now, right in the moment of time where DeMaurice Smith was at his most vulnerable moment, where he was basically on his way to getting voted out? It seems like there's something more here, and it seems like almost like mobbish, almost.
Well, someone in the NFL doesn't like John Gruden.
Yes, 100%.
That's the bottom line, because this investigation was done by the NFL, and if this was the only thing to be made public from all of it.
That's crazy, man.
From all of those emails, I mean, You're telling me there is nothing else within the Washington football team organization that forever was known to have cultural issues, other things going on, and the only thing they found were emails from John Gruden to Bruce Allen. And I'm not trying to downplay what John Gruden said in his emails. None of that's right. Apparently, he went after everyone. I mean, at least that was what I got from. I'm reading it, going, oh, okay. Well, he pretty much offended everyone for the most part at some point in time over that period of time. But then I was thinking, like, to your point, LaVar, I mean, someone had a hit out on him. Someone was looking for something once they found an email, and they started looking for more. And they had a reasoning for trying to get John Gruden out when it was all said and done.
But not only that, but think about it from this perspective. Why was there not action taken when you found out that was the content of the emails that you had confiscated or took during the course of this interview, during the course of this investigation? Why was there not any action taken at that point in time? Why did it wait until, this is the problem that I come up with. racism, prejudice, like everybody's going to have their idea how that looks and how that feels. And you have every right to feel upset and outraged as it applies to that. I'm talking about something a tad bit different here. I'm talking about like the rules of engagement. How are you supposed to feel about your job if somebody can actually go get something from 9-10 years ago and it doesn't become a problem, it doesn't become an issue until the public gets a hold of it.
Yeah. It's similar to this, Brady. Remember when the Urban Meyer stuff, when he had the assistant coach on his staff, and Brett McMurphy was one of the reporters that was on it, and he was all over this Urban Meyer stuff. And one of the things I remember we talked about, Brady and I, at the time during our Sunday show, was it seemed like every time something came out in defense of Urban Meyer, there was a new piece of evidence that came up. All of a sudden, a new piece of evidence just kept coming up. And what it felt like to me was they had that stuff the whole time. They were picking and choosing when they were going to release it, almost as ammo. Like, well, maybe we need this now, but we'll put it away. We'll keep it in the holster for later on.
Who these people are?
And that's the thing.
Like, who
that's
are
the
these
part
people?
That's weird. I agree.
Because again, if you had this information since doing the investigation on Washington, then why? Like, think about this. Morally speaking, being sound and using your compass. And John Gruden being in a position where he has to resign, they should have made him resign when they found it.
Yes.
If this was going to be what it led to now, then that's what it should have been, what it led to when they found it. Not now that cancel culture's got a hold of it. Like, oh, nope, can't mess with that. Well,
think about this if you're the NFL. All the talk right now is about what John Gruden said, what he did, and how he's been punished for. He has essentially resigned now. But you're the NFL. You're doing this investigation, all this leaks out. So you were either negligent to the point where you had someone who was disordinate and they wanted to leak this out because they either had a vendetta against John Gruden, they didn't like him, that at some point in time he had wronged them, or you've just got that type of an organization that you just can't keep anything in house. Like, I remember when we were coming out for the combine, for as a rookie class. And I remember one of the things they ask you, they put you on tape, and they ask you if you ever smoked weed before. And I can honestly answer that no. Like, to this point in time of my life, I've never done that. Now, there was other players who answered honestly. And what do you think happened as soon as we left the combine?
Oh, it's held against them.
Yeah.
There was names that got drummed out, that got released, that got leaked, that had smoked weed before. And this is back in 2007. Which, nowadays, I think the stigma, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah,
but then it did.
Oh, you were a thug.
Yeah.
If you smoked weed.
Then it mattered. I remember walking away from it thinking, why in the hell would I ever trust the NFL with anything that they say is confidential when I think we've known time and time and time again it's not. And again, I'm not like defending John Gruden in any way. I'm just looking at it from the angle of it was an NFL investigation. And somehow, yet again, what the New York Times gets out to this damning article, how does that happen? Like Roger Goodell in the NFL must have wanted this to happen. Otherwise, I don't know how it does if you're supposedly doing an investigation like this.
He wasn't even a point of focus. This was all about DeMorris and him being on his way out. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Like, this came out of nowhere. I will say this to the other side of it. I tell my young guys all the time, when you're writing these text messages, when y'all talking about doing these photo exchanges, when you're talking about your posts where you're doing the double middle fingers or you're doing the inappropriate gestures on your social media, this, that, and other, take it down. Erase it. Get rid of it. Oh, hey, by the way, here's the best one of them. Don't do it. Well, that happened when I was in 8th grade, 9th grade. I put that up, and it'll cost you. So here's a rule. Here's another learning moment that comes from the book of do it the right way because it matters. It doesn't matter. We could make this about race, color, and creed and all that, and and even in just your sexual orientation, because that seemed to be the straw that broke the camel's back, is the misogynistic references and the gay slurs and stuff like that. Okay, here it is. Make a gay slur 9 years ago. Make a misogynistic gesture or do something like that on your social media 8-9 years ago. And now all of a sudden you're this big superstar and you're getting interviewed and you're getting opportunities and, oh, you're going to get drafted. Yeah, you were in the 8th grade when you said this homophobic slur. Oh, now you're not getting drafted in the first round.
You remember Laramie Tunsil?
Yes.
Okay. He's got a gas mask on, smoking weed. Of all the times for them to release the footage of that, it's on draft night.
And it costed him.
Yes.
And it costed him.
It cost him. But the point is, if you've got evidence of something, why are you holding on to it?
That's what people do.
Yeah.
I don't have. My thing is, this is what Brady is talking about. This is an institution. This is happening within an institution, right? This is an institution. This is a black eye to not only to John Gruden and his family and what he represents. This is a black eye to the organization. This is a black eye to all of us, because this is one of those names and those brands that has been a hero. That's a heroic figure in the National Football League, a well-respected voice and person. He was in the booth. You respected that. He did the quarterback schools or whatever. You respected those things. So now you're taking a voice that has been well-respected and well-received, and now it is minimized to nothing based off of him being very irresponsible in the way that he was conducting himself in what would be considered to be private conversations.
By the way, employee of ESPN at the time. I didn't see that mentioned much last night. I just want to make sure that was clear.
It was interesting. There was all that reporting, and yet you wonder if someone wants to do an internal investigation of some of those emails.
Yeah.
I just, oh man,
it's definitely Pandora's box. That's for certain.
Yeah,
because there's going to be. Let me tell you something. There's going to be black people that have inappropriate transactions. Are those going to come out? There are going to be other Hispanic, Latin, Latino. There's going to be other people that have had horrible correspondence in terms of what they've said and how they've said it. Are they going to come out? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Are they going to come out? Because the one thing I was hearing yesterday when I was talking to a lot, I talk to a lot of people. I go get feedback off of things that are taking place, and I like to get a lot of different perspectives to create balance. And the one thing that was being asked, and I know this is the one thing that us as a people, we hate hearing. Like as a group of people, we hate hearing this. If John Gruden was talking about a white man and said that, would he be in this situation right now?
Probably not. I would say.
Well, I mean, he
would he be? Would he be in?
What do you mean when you say that? Because he did make disparaging comments about.
You mean about the lips,
right?
Yeah. Right.
So this is what got the whole ball rolling was the Michelin lips, right? Yeah. If this was a white man that was in charge of the NFLPA, and John Gruden says, the dumbo, dumb Morris, whatever, with his Michelin lips, would this have been perceived as much as of an outrage?
Not initially, but these follow-up emails, that's where...
But are you going for the follow-up emails if you're not looking at how disparaging the first ones are?
And it's a fair question, and the fact that we even have to ask that question is problematic.
It's problematic. And
it's just bizarre.
And I'm going to tell you why, because there's somebody sitting out there, there's like, LaVar sounds like an Uncle Tom. LaVar sounds like he's siding. No, I'm not siding with anything on this. And I'm not an Uncle Tom. You could kiss my ass if you think I am. The bottom line is what I'm saying is, and I'm going to speak real frank right now. Like, I'm going to have a real moment right now. I have a teammate, my brother, in arms that I have bled with, that I have sweat with, that I have cried with, and have gone to war with. And his daughter was just murdered. 5 months pregnant and was just murdered. And there has been zero outrage. There has been zero protest, zero cancel culture until we get this. There will be no peace, no justice, no peace. Zero anything about it. And yet when something happens where a person throws out Michelin lips, now everybody's up in arms. Now everybody is, racism is crazy. Black people are held back. We're oppressed to this point and we don't matter and this doesn't matter. And yet you got a woman, a young lady that was just buried and you don't even know who she is. You don't know her name. You don't know her story. And this man's daughter is gone, shot in the head, 5 months pregnant. And yet we're sitting here talking about John Gruden talking about Michelin lips, and now he has to step down because of the moral compass that exists and why he should not be the head coach of a goddamn football team. That's where I have a problem. When cancel culture comes and does things where this has to happen. This email's been leaked. Oh my gosh, misogynistic. Well, where are you at for this woman that no longer has her life to live, doesn't have the ability to live her life anymore because she was murdered in cold blood? Where are you at? See, if you're doing it across the board, then I have no problem. If you're doing it every time something happens that is horribly bad to a race of people, I have no problem. But I have heard absolutely nothing from anyone about what has happened to this young lady in her life and her unborn child's life. And yet you can sit there and type on your Twitters or go out here and write editorials or do your interviews and talk about how horrible a person John Gruden is and the person that shot that beautiful young soul and took her life and shortened her life is still sitting around eating cornflakes, watching the news or reading the newspaper, going about their business as usual because we don't have enough outrage. We don't have enough information to bring the person to justice. That is upsetting. And that should be more upsetting than somebody talking about Michelin frickin' lips. And I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that.
Well said.